Subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.
Apparently, millennials as a generation, which is a group of people who were born approximately 1984 and after, are tough to manage. And they're accused of being entitled and narcissistic and self-interested, unfocused, lazy.
Wait, do you also agree with what Simon just said? Entitled, self-centered, lazy? Those are heavy words. On paper, millennials in India are no different from the US. But there is more than what meets the eye for the millennials in India. Let's try and decode how badly the future of Indian millennials is hit, especially in the times of a global pandemic. So, let's get started. This group of individuals with a starting to recede hairline, working behind a desk, and this MBA graduate fresh out of a B school, they both fall under this umbrella of millennials. The age range that most of the world agrees to for millennials is those born between 1981 and 1996, which in the Indian context could very much mean a happily married individual with kids, or someone who is freshly coming under the radar of their relatives asking the question, "Beta, when are you getting married?" The millennial generation is often labeled as digital natives who got the initial familiarity with the internet, mobile devices, and social media. And with that, the world of millennials changed forever. Entitled is the word that often gets associated with millennials. But how entitled do you think they actually are? I am a millennial myself, and I would like to decode this millennial myth in the Indian context today. While on one hand there are marquee events like liberalization in 1991, economic reforms, cut in the duties, Chinese goods boom, and e-commerce and gig economy making an entry into the Indian market, Indian millennials have also undergone a major recession in 2009. They are probably feeling the double burn currently of a slowing economy and a disastrous COVID-19. Amidst all this, the discussion that often does not take place is the dismal demographics of the generation. A majority of them live in the rural areas, 1/3 haven't even crossed the primary school benchmark, and only 10 to 12% are graduates, most of whom are casual laborers or are part of petty self-employment spaces. Which takes me to the biggest worry of the Indian millennial today: jobs. The Indian Prime Minister boasted about the youth population figures in one of his speeches. This came both as an opportunity and a challenge for India. While on one hand there is a young workforce that can produce more output and use more goods to put India in a better economic position, on the other, it is crucial to create enough jobs. The new India has long moved from agriculture, and hence the young India is constantly looking for new opportunities in other sectors. From 2004 to 2012, India saw a 4.4 million workforce shift from agriculture and allied activities to industry and services. During that period, approximately 14.7 million people were trying to get into these new jobs every year. But employment in the industry and services stayed around 6.5 million per year. Not all jobs created were appealing either. Construction and manufacturing is where a lot of jobs sprung up, taking up most of this new workforce. The two sectors are infamous for their brutally low wages, poor working conditions, and exploitations. The new Indian millennial was in a fix. The last decade saw a massive number of educated Indian millennials trying desperately to end up getting a job and secure his or her future. And to secure that, they moved towards education, an entry point to a better life. Or so they thought. Jack Goldstone, an American sociologist, once stated, "An expanding population of higher educated youth facing limited opportunities to obtain elite political and economic positions might lead to social conflict." In theory, your college education is supposed to improve your employment prospects. When a suitable employment opportunity is not immediately available, people decide to be patient and wait for the economy to grow for better opportunities. But is it just the employment that is the problem, or is there something bigger, more problematic going on here? Let's address the elephant in the room, specifically in the Indian context: unemployability. A fact that was pointed out by the President APJ Abdul Kalam in 2008 and has been cemented by the National Employability Report for Engineers 2019, put out by Aspiring Minds in 2020, where 80% of the engineers in India are deemed unemployable. And why do you think they are unemployable? Mediocre and redundant education policies, poor public school environment, and no focus on preparing the students for the future workplaces they are going to join has led to a massive pool of unsuitable graduates for employment that is in tandem with their degrees. Hence, you see reports like these where people with PhDs apply for jobs they are totally overqualified for. A report in 2019 mentioned that there are 55 million people who at least have a graduate degree. 9 million of them are unemployed. The rate is thrice that of the national average. Now, we have all seen these reports over and over again. What we don't see is what sort of a domino effect it is creating for the future. In the year 2000, about rupees 300 crore was taken as public loans for higher education by students. In 2017, it rose to a staggering rupees 72,000 crore, becoming the fastest growing NPAs in the banking system. In just 3 years, from 2013 to 2016, the student loan defaults increased by 142%. Till now, we had seen a repeated number of episodes by Hasan Minhaj telling how badly the student loans are in the US. Well, India is in no better state. The population in the age group of 15 to 34 in India was 353 million and is expected to rise to 464 million by the next year. Going by the recent AISHE report for 2018 and 19, nearly 37.4 million students opted for higher education in India. Now, with this immense growth in first generation low income students, the number of loans is rising because of the rising costs of education. Take for example our very own loving MBA. Most of the top tier IIMs charge well over rupees 20 lakh for their flagship courses. The newer IIMs are not far behind. Even COVID-19 could not stop MBA institutes this year from increasing their fees. And this stands true not only for MBA, but also engineering, medical, and other white-collar professions students look up to. Not only IIMs, the other lower tier institutes are also raising their fees every passing year, which might not end up resulting in jobs for many. The first generation low-income students who opt for these loans often end up in institutions which either leave them unemployed or at the best underemployed. Result: a rising loan default rate in the country. A weak base of poor schooling followed by an age-old syllabus with no reforms, lack of proper teaching or career guidance, and above all, basic lack in infrastructure leads to a student being unsure of what they are good at. A massive knowledge gap has been another key ingredient in the millennials of India today to have mere degrees without any bankable skills. The Subramanian Committee report summed up the higher education in their report, stating, while we have a few centers of excellence both in public and private sectors, there is a large number which is mediocre. Some of them could well be described as degree shops. The constant dip in the Indian economy, thanks to the global downfall in the markets and now COVID-19, has just made things worse. The information divide is a blot that everybody can see. Schools and colleges are being forced to go online, a majority of whom are not capable of adapting to the digital intervention it needs in a country like India. Although there are options for the urban and tier 2 middle class families to opt for online education, the same is not happening for the not so fortunate ones. In a country where internet and smartphone penetration is celebrated every other day, a vast section is still finding it difficult to cope with the new digital education world that they have thrown into. So does this mean that higher education in India is in limbo? Not really. All major B schools have notified that they are opening their gates, and the first session of the coveted MBA programs is going to be online. Some have even shown an increased number of batch intake as well. This is just how the MBA world behaved even during the global recession in 2009. More students opted to do an MBA during the time of recession because no company was hiring. There were no hefty promotions. In such a scenario, students took loans and secured an MBA degree and used it as a buffer. Something similar might happen again, and thus B schools are not really looking that worried. Millennials on the other side are pretty worried. If you are not getting a job, getting laid off, with some already dealing with that tragedy. If you have a LinkedIn account and you spend even 10 minutes on it, you would know what I'm talking about. Companies after companies have frozen hiring, laid off or cut employees' salaries, and expansion plans took a major hit. The YOLO philosophy following millennials with no savings is suddenly looking at a crisis that they never anticipated. 41% of the millennials in a Deloitte survey said the major reason they feel stressed or are anxious is because they're worried about their long-term financial future. And not just the urban millennials. The rural ones seem to be more affected by the recent pandemic. We have all seen hordes of migrant laborers taking the long road back in the last few months. With a lot of them still dependent on the manufacturing and industrial jobs, it is a gloomy period for them, further increasing the employment gap in the country. CMIE mentioned that in April alone, 12.2 crore Indians lost their jobs. Education is hit too. According to the same AISHE report, 60.53% colleges in India are located in rural areas, and the dismal infrastructure of a lot of these higher education institutions is not unknown to many. How they will continue providing education to the students during the ongoing pandemic is another big question that is in front of them. But all is not lost. The pandemic for the first time has made the digital transformation a necessity in India. It is gradually making schools and colleges take the digital route and helping them embrace technology. Teachers like these are using technology to create more impact on the young minds. From grocery stores to business houses of all sizes, everyone is changing their business models to online. Education institutes are experimenting with new technologies and implementing new educational policies in place. The government is also making interventions and has made portals like Diksha, ePathshala, Swayam, etc. available to those in need. With the new education policy coming in after 34 long years, it is definitely a silver lining. With an allocated 6% GDP share for education, a significant rise from its current 4%. Formation of a dedicated unit for online and digital education, multiple entry-exit points in higher education, and a host of other promises made, this could be a new phase of Indian education. Who knows? Maybe this was the shift in the basic education that we all needed. Maybe this can make more students employable when they come out of their colleges, resulting in better hiring. Maybe this can elevate the bottom-up approach that we needed to take to transform our education system rather than following the top-down one for decades, which clearly was not working. And what can you do to be future ready? Upskill yourself and look beyond your comfort zone. The future workspace will demand more people to step up and perform on things that they might not have done before. We have done a series of videos on how you can upskill yourself and become job ready. You can have a look at them here. With all this, the constant job hopping millennials will possibly find it difficult to continue doing that and would stick more to their jobs. Now, whether the millennial generation is self-centered, lazy or entitled depends on which side of the spectrum you were born. But to judge an entire generation based on some common traits is definitely a thing of the past. Because we have all seen examples globally how these very millennials have turned the business world upside down with their ideas. A powerful pool of millennials with their ideas might also find their way through this global pandemic this time around. What might happen though is a millennial might finally be labeled as responsible in the popular culture. What do you think are the major challenges millennials are facing? How badly do you think their future is hit? What do you think they should focus on next? Tell us in the comment section below. Hi guys, we hope you liked the video. If you like this, tell us more in the comment section below which are the topics that you want us to decode for you. In the description below, find the link for Counsel, which is a one-on-one program to actually guide you through in your career, and keep writing to us with more content ideas so that we can come up with them for you.